right, it looks like it's recording. Yeah, all right, but check this out. Look what I brought.
Oh, geez.
Hey guys, this is Sarah, and this is a box. Something that Sarah was really scared of for a very long period of time.
Yeah.
Why are you so scared of this thing? It's just a box. All I can imagine is you just shinning your shins along it.
My worst case scenario is falling and breaking my shin. That's what I envision in my head. Every single time I jump on it is the worst case scenario.
What's up, you guys? I'm Wes Pyatt. Welcome to the Going Deep podcast, where I sit down with my friends and we go deep on something that maybe is a little scary to go deep on. Today I'm talking with Sarah, one of my favorite clients that I have, who has overcome so many fears, honestly, over the last couple of years. It's amazing. And let's start with where you were when we first started working together. Let's go just give people a general picture of who you were a couple of years ago versus who you are now.
I was doing CrossFit for probably a few years at that point, probably like 5 years at that point. So, I was
all with us here, too.
Yeah, here. Yeah. I started CrossFit in 2015 with you guys. And so I've been doing it pretty regularly up until the pandemic 2020. But, I never did gymnastic skills before I started CrossFit. So all of that kind of stuff, like
the box jumps and the GHD sit-ups and those things.
I did running. That was the max of my skill. Is I knew how to run, and even that I learned.
You could jump rope.
Barely.
Yeah, you could jump
Single unders were still a struggle for me at that time, and I'm better at them, but I don't know. I had to spend those first years really learning how to move my body because I didn't. I
talk about that a lot with people where they feel like they're getting stuck, maybe they're not making change, and I feel like a lot of that change that happens for the first 3 years is kind of an internal change. It's a mental change, then it's like your blood markers are starting to get better before you actually see that external effects of it. Do you think that that's where you're at, or do you think no, hey, I put in some extra work over these last couple of years?
Definitely feel like the last couple of years since I started working with you and adding in all the extra stuff, I feel like from where I started, the last few years have been almost leaps and bounds from where I was, because it was I was always progressively improving, but it was always kind of inching. And then when I started working with you and doing all the extra stuff, it was really leaps in progress for me. And
I saw that too right after you got your first box jump.
Yeah.
So Sarah had a real big fear of jumping on a 20-inch box, jumping on a 14-inch box, jumping on anything that was wood and had an angle like this to it. It was a major fear of hers and a major fear of a lot of ours, right?
It's really the height.
Yeah. Let's talk about what are the tangible things you did to overcome that fear?
I really feel like it was other people's support that helped me get through it, because the day, and the one day that really comes to mind was the day that Maribel and even Coach Claire were there, and they were, come on, you can do it. Yeah. Look at how high you can get your knees, and try it on the lower one that you can do it, and then show yourself. And so really kind of having them there to, Sarah, you got this, you can do it.
An outside perspective of being no, seriously, you really do have this, versus you trying to convince yourself.
Yeah, that was the day that I think it really clicked in my head. It was no, Maribel's right. She was look at how high your legs go. It's way above where the box is. You could totally, you just have to you could totally jump that box. So it's really having someone there to be no, I know you got it. Kind of helped me, and it was still it's kind of a talk for myself every single time I go to the box. But I just have to remind myself of that day. You've got them.
So you're able to still go back to that day and use that as motivation going forward of that one time, huh?
Yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
That's really powerful. You had another fear of GHD sit-ups, and getting on the GHD in general was a fear of yours. What helped you conquer that fear? Was it the same thing?
It's kind of the same thing. It's the height. It's it's like being upside down. They're uncomfortable positions for me, and to be up there and to think that like I'm gonna control my body and rely on it to not like fail me in this weird position is it. I mean, when you spend your whole life not being active and not thinking, hey, your body can do those things.
I think that's the biggest takeaway. Relying on your body to do something. And before you were like, I don't rely on my body to do certain things. I don't know if it can. What do you feel now? You feel your body is pretty reliable now?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we talked about this last time about pull-ups. Like I can feel it, I can taste it.
Oh, we're almost there.
I'm like almost there. Like
Yes.
I want to be gone. I want to be rid of that blue band, like so bad. Like I can
just like
taste
you
it.
wanted to be rid of the green band.
Yeah.
Just like you wanted to be rid of the black band, and you got rid of the black band, and you got rid of the green band, and you're gonna get rid of the blue band as long as you keep overcoming your fears, as long as you keep tackling those things. But what I'm hearing from Sarah, you guys, is that a tribe is so important to have around you that is not only supportive in what you're doing, but championing you in what you're doing and encouraging you in a very safe way, though, too, being realistic about it and letting you know when you have it and also when you don't have it, too. There were some moments in the beginning where I got you up on the GHD and I went, oh, let's take a step back. Let's go to some planks. Let's go to some Russian twists. Let's build this up first. So not only having the confidence in the tribe around you that what they're saying is true, but you know it's true because they won't put you in those risky situations, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate you.
I definitely think that's really like, I mean, honestly, people who believe in you, I think for me was really important because like, I never grew up with someone telling me, hey, you could do this stuff. Like,
Wow,
I mean, I was the fat kid in school.
Yeah.
People don't encourage the fat kid back when I was a kid. People didn't say, hey, come do this sport with us. Like, so it's kind of like for me as an adult to have people around me who are encouraging in that way is really important because I didn't have that as a kid. So
we had a conversation with somebody in our Parkinson's class the other day about that. And they're in their 70s. And they grew up being the fat kid. They grew up being the kid that in PE it was embarrassing. They didn't want to be out there. You know, they were the ones that were getting pegged in the face with the dodgeball and told they couldn't climb the rope type of thing, you know. And they're actually the fittest person in our Parkinson's class.
good for them.
But imagine if they had somebody that championed them when they were a kid instead of disgracing them. And instead went like, oh, that's hard for you? Awesome.
And that's kind of how I feel. Like if I had grown up, if I had had that as a kid, like what could I have been able to do? Like instead of sitting on the sidelines and watching other people do these amazing things at the Olympics, maybe I could have been the one at the Olympics.
So what's your Olympics now?
I really like American Ninja Warrior.
Oh my God, let's go.
I have a vision of one day
go.
being the oldest woman to get up the warped wall.
Let's
Maybe
go.
one day.
Oh
So
my
that's kind of like
gosh.
where I'm
I
like,
just
that's
had a
why I
vision.
want to get pull-ups. I want to be able to do
Yeah.
handstand push-ups. I want to be able to do that kind of stuff.
For
'cause-
that outcome. What a cool thing to go for. Look at the joy it brings you just thinking about it. That's what we're trying to get out of our daily lives is that joy, that passion, that excitement to go for something that is so outstanding, so ridiculous. They call it an ikigai in, I believe, Japanese culture, where it's like the most audacious, crazy thing you could possibly go after, but it's what fuels your fire, what fuels your purpose. And it's like, why are you doing handstand push-ups? Why are you trying to get all those pull-ups? Why are you working so hard is what a lot of people will say. And you're like, so I can get up that damn warped wall, that's why. Duh. And for you, that is a noble and awesome pursuit and journey to go after. And it's about finding that tribe that's going to be so stoked that you're on that journey, that you're on that. And I'm so stoked that you're on that journey, that you're going to go for that. And I can't wait to like I literally had a vision of me just now when you were like, I had a vision of doing this. I was like, I have a vision of me building this damn warped wall one day, probably for you.
Don't think that I haven't thought about like, Wes, you really need to get
Where am I going to put this stuff?
you need to get like 5 acres and build a big warehouse. So part of it can be CrossFit, and
just need
part of
money.
it can be
I just need money.
the
If you got
obstacle
money,
course
give
gym.
it to me, and I'm going to do what she says. I promise. I'll do exactly that. I do exactly that. Well, thank you, Sarah, so much. I want to keep this short for people because I want them to actually listen to it. and I want to thank you for being vulnerable and for opening yourself up to not only me, but to other people and hopefully helping them in turn tackle their fears. I got one question for you. When was a time that you were vulnerable when you didn't want to be and you're happy that you were now?
Probably when I was going into therapy. My therapist is probably, well, I don't see him anymore because he retired. He was probably the person that I told, like, he's the one person who, like, knows everything about me. Every deep, dark secret he knows.
That's what they're there for.
Honestly, it taught me a lot about how to interpret my internal feelings and also to communicate them a little bit better. So, like, that's probably the thing that I learned most about being vulnerable. Was it's scary, it's terrifying, but it can be really good for you.
Yeah, it works. Thanks. Hey, oh my God, I've recorded the whole thing, I think, too. That was